Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're really excited about this session. This one's a little different and pretty special, actually. We're here with Doug Kennedy from Kennedy Training Network. And my name is Heather Richer, the Astro Board President. So I'm actually going to go through a little bit about Astro and then dive into who Doug is and how I know Doug and what he's going to help us with today. So let me share my screen here. And we'll use some slides to take us through a few things. So this is an expert Q&A session. So how we run this is we encourage everyone on the line to chat at any time, and we can jump back and forth to get questions from you. We'll also have time at the end where we'll go through some questions we have put together in advance. And we want this to be interactive. So this, again, is an expert in this space. We're so happy to have Doug here. But for those of you that have never engaged with the Association for Short-Term Rental Homeowners, astro.org, I just wanted to spend a few minutes letting you know who we are, what we do. So the short-term rental industry has just evolved, and with COVID, it's accelerated even the growth opportunities with consumer demand and the ability for entrepreneurs to own short-term rentals and be a small business owner. And what we realized is this audience of homeowners in the lodging industry really didn't have a place to go, a neutral, unbiased platform to learn and help advance their professional development. So that's why we created Astro. The screen you're looking at is our website that's available to everyone, our public-facing content where we give free blog information, articles, and also provide a business directory of service providers and technology providers that support the industry. Once you join, though, as a member, and again, a membership is just $10 a month, $100 a year. The goal is that it's super easy to join, to get access to organized topics, having conversations with other folks like yourself in our community, and really to help you cut through the clutter of Facebook. There's so much that happens on Facebook. A lot of it is really great, and a lot of it is really tough and sometimes not the most accurate. So we're bringing experts together and vetting this information, organizing it for you, and then also providing courses and education throughout the year. Another thing that's important to note is our partners and friends. So on the left here, you see other lodging associations. Some of these are trade organizations. Some of these are professional societies. We are a professional society focused on education. Though we are engaged on the trade side with regulatory affairs, we're not, our core mission is not to talk to city council or be lobbying on Capitol Hill. We're going to help homeowners know how to get involved if they want to. But again, our core focus being professional development and education. And then moving to the right, you can see we work with academia, Penn State and Cornell. Some other universities too with great hospitality programs are now really expanding and seeing an opportunity to educate on short-term rentals. So it's really exciting time there. There's lots of local organizations across the country, and we try to stay in touch and know what they're doing and try to support them in any way as well. And then obviously advocacy, thought leadership side, and you can see Doug is here as a thought leader and expert. So with that, that's who Astro is. Again, my name is Heather, and now we're going to talk about Doug and Kennedy Training Network. So I've actually known Doug a really long time. I've been in the lodging industry my whole career, and Doug and I crossed paths. I maybe shouldn't say how many years ago on the hotel side. We spent time up in Canada at call centers together, and Doug is just such a expert and thought leader and creative, energetic trainer. So we are so thrilled to have you here today, Doug. And you can see just the history of Doug's breadth and depth of experience is across all different kinds of lodging organizations, all different kinds of, not-for-profit associations, and really, I don't think there's any question you can't answer, Doug. So we're so
Aw.
happy to hear. And then just to talk about our partnership, you know, yeah, no, hey, I mean, I honestly just love that we're able to work together again, and that you've been so generous. I do want this session, but also to have a special offer for our members. So this is a really special rate that is webcam coaching. That is a one-on-one directly with you as a homeowner. And so as a member, you get access to that really special rate and opportunity to work directly with Doug. So we're just so thrilled. And yeah, just this is a really, really great session. And I think with that, we can dive right into the content. And
Let's do it.
let me kind of come out of this deck and then hand it over to you, Doug.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Heather.
So I'm
We
going to
do definitely go back a year or two. A little bit more about our company. So Kennedy Training Network is based in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. We do training worldwide, mostly US, Canada, Caribbean, Mexico, sometimes to very interesting places. This is me at the Ritz-Carlton Moscow, one of my more unusual bookings, Bulgaria to Malaysia, Singapore, Brazil. I do a lot with hotels, which is how Heather and I first crossed paths when she was with really one of the companies that invented the boutique hotel concept, Kimpton Hotels. They, along with Ian Schrager Hotels, invented what is kind of a whole new niche in lodging. Prior to COVID, probably about 60% of our business was in the hotels, mostly branded corporate hotels. We trained the Walt Disney World Swan Dolphin, hotels branded by companies like Marriott, to independents, franchises, you name it. So I started my company in 1989. I'm not ashamed to fully disclose, Heather. 31 years. And through 1996, I only trained hotels. But in 1996, I got asked to be a speaker at the Vacation Rental Managers Association, VRMA. And that's what opened my eyes to this whole new niche of lodging, which is the vacation or home, in your case, homeowner. Now, some of it is vacation. Some of you may have urban rentals, which may skew even a little back towards the corporate, or you do have urban rentals. We had a company in Baltimore that is a vacation rental company in an urban market. They did have some corporate reload business, but they also had people who were Baltimore Ravens or Orioles fans, or whose kids went to Coppin State and graduated. So there is a little bit of a crossover, but I will speak mostly to vacations today. Now, I'm really excited with, Heather, what you and your team at Astro have been doing. When you first reached out to me, I was all in from the beginning. Pretty much when you shared the concept, I'm like, okay, I'm in. What do I need to do? It's wonderful because, as I understand, probably about half of all the rental properties, short-term rental properties out there, are managed by individuals, or maybe people that have 1, 2, 3 smaller investors. Now, normally the companies I work with, yesterday and the day prior, I was up in McHenry, Maryland, at Deep Creek, and I was training a company called TaylorMade Deep Creek. They have 447 large vacation homes. We have another client. We have quite a few clients with a lot of inventory. One I've had since around 1996 is Brett Robinson Gulf Shore. They have 1,800. So there's a lot of really big companies that I work with. I will be flying all the way to Park City. I'll be flying to Salt Lake and driving to Park City. The company has about 30 in their inventory. However, those are really amazing homes that are, many of them are owned by celebrities and movie stars that highly have to screen their renters because of all the valuable artwork and whatnot. So I've been doing training a long time, but I'm very excited to be here today. So Heather and I were kind of kicking around topics. Now, thank you, Heather, for saying I can answer any question. I don't know the meaning of life. I'm still working on that one. I do like to think I could answer most any question related to a very narrow vertical, which is, anything to do with distribution. So reservation inquiries, responding to inquiries in-app. What I mean by that is through VRBO, Airbnb, or those of you who do rent directly to particularly previous guests that you've converted, maybe you're emailing them. So anything in that space, and then anything in the hospitality guest service space. I guess that's actually, it's not a slide. I should have made it a slide, but really a starting place. And I will share with you think of yourselves as being in the vacation experience business or the urban corporate relocating traveler experience, but be in the experience business, not the home rental business. So look at it like you're selling experiences and not renting your house or your condo. I will use the term condo, I'm sorry, home, not condo today, and I probably will skew towards vacation. Again, I recognize some short-term rental is in the corporate market. Once again, we have crossover right now because we have people who are renting in a traditionally leisure vacation areas, and they're going there to work because they want to work remote because they have a bigger space to get out of the big city where there tends to be more COVID cases, and also bring along the kids that they're homeschooling, so there's really, everything is kind of mixed up and disrupted. So anyway, and Heather and I were batting around topics. I picked this one, but just to recap on what she said, if anyone is interested, I am offering the webcam consulting, 1 hour sessions at special rates. I usually don't do the consulting outside of training, but obviously most of you today have, one, maybe a couple of properties, maybe it's you and a partner or your life partner or a spouse. So obviously, you're not going to have a training class with me, but that's my way to contribute to your industry. Let's get started. Now, Heather is going to take questions. You can chat over a question. I will try to glance down. Hopefully I can keep focused on you and not the chat. So Heather's going to monitor that. At the end, I will take questions. We have probably, 20 minutes of content here, 25 minutes, and then we'll take questions. So complaints. My topic today is conquering complaints. So first, when I'm doing this in person, I ask people to consider what is a complaint. Now, if you're with me in a class or in a private larger team webcam training where I train 6, 12 people, I actually go around and ask everybody or tell them to write up with a team, what is a complaint in their definition? But in the interest of time today, since I can't see or communicate with you individually, I went to one of my favorite websites as a writer. I do a lot of writing too of articles, thesaurus.com. And if you put the word complaint, there's a lot of examples that come up. Accusation, a charge, a criticism, a grievance, a gripe, an objection, a protest, trouble, an annoyance. Then we get into some other, I think this is British English over here, a protestation, a remonstrance, a remonstration. I don't think you're going to have a guest say, I'm really upset, I have a remonstration for you. But the point is, I want you to look at complaints in a whole nother way today after your time so that you go, awesome, I got a complaint. What a good thing. Yes, of course, because a complaint is another way to look at it is a second chance. Now, I know a lot of you do have sell-through sites where people do reviews, Airbnb, VRBO, and there's nothing worse than getting a complaint about something that if you knew about it, you could have dealt with it. The remote control didn't work. Maybe you slide extra batteries in there in a location. So if someone has a remote control that's not working, you can say, look in the upper closet. You probably want to hide those extra batteries so every guest doesn't see them and, maybe take them. But, stash some extra batteries somewhere, a little thing like that. Or something that, they couldn't figure out how to work something. They didn't know the microwave. They can't work the microwave. That stupid microwave didn't work. The truth is they couldn't figure out how to work it. If you bought a new microwave, some of the newfangled ones, I know when I stay in vacation rental, I found myself trying to heat up my instant coffee. I carry little packs when I'm only there one night for a nice, quick instant coffee. I can't figure out how to do it. Okay, and I probably stay in, I normally do 6 trainings a month, and normally about 2 of those are vacation rentals. So, you could have helped if you knew about it. So that's why I want you to look at complaints with a big yes, because you have a second chance. Now, in today's world, more than ever before, why is it more important to properly respond to guest complaints? Actually, let's be interactive if anybody wants to chat over the answer. Why do you think that today, more than ever, now, a lot of owners in short-term rentals are doing it for investment, and I don't know what business you came from. Maybe you came from the corporate world. Maybe you came from a service industry. Maybe you are also an entrepreneur and you're small business people and you do this on the side. But you probably have some insights into complaints and why they're more important than ever before. So why is it today? Let's see if, I don't see any chat. You're all being shy. But here's a statistic that I bet most of us have heard somewhere if you ever went to any customer service training, whether you come from real estate, finance, certainly in the automotive industry. Automotive dealerships obsess on customer service. I don't know if you bought a car, I lease, but whatever you do, you're going to get inundated. They text you a survey, they email you a survey, they call you with a survey, then the actual corporate office calls, then the outsourced JD Power type person calls, because they know how important it is. So if you've ever been to any class in any industry, you heard this statistic: be careful, an unhappy guest will tell 9 or 10 others. Ooh, word of mouth advertising. Now, we still have word of mouth advertising, but the point is this: that statistic is actually the most often quoted statistic in the history of customer service training through the year 2020. They're still quoting it. It came from 1986. The TARP reports, Technical Assistant Research Project, commissioned by the White House Office of Consumer Affairs. Google search the stat, put in the word TARP, and that it'll back me up on this. So yeah, that was true in the 80s. But today, guests can be our biggest advocates or our worst nightmares based on those reviews, because they have a lot more power. So instead of word of mouth, it's word of click. And actually, it's no longer word of click. It's no longer clicking on a keyboard. It's the word of tap on a smartphone. So today, when a guest is upset, we can get a bad review. Now, I will discuss reviews at the end. The content I'm going to share with you applies to guests mostly that are in-house, that are perhaps calling you, texting you, emailing you, or in-app messaging you through the Airbnb app while you're there. We know some of those apps don't want us to have the person's phone number or email, so we have to be a little sneaky to get that, because then you can retarget them, book them directly next time, and you won't have to pay those high commissions. Heather, I believe I read somewhere that Airbnb, that's right, I don't think it affects individual owners. They're shifting the commission to the supplier. Now, I think with individual owners, the commission is still going to be shared between the renter and the tenant or the guest. So delete that statement. But yeah, they'll probably do it eventually. They're going to shift the fees to you. Yes, that's your understanding. So anyways, you want to communicate with them directly, because then you can do a simple email blast or put it in a tickler sheet and then send an email, to try to get them to book directly. We have a question. Okay, what do you do to suggest for a guest who doesn't voice their complaint with their in-house, but still writes a bad review after their stay? I'm actually going to address that if you encourage people to complain. Now, we will also address at the end specific to that question, because you can do everything I advocate for while they're in-house. We call in-house in the hotel business in-house. That means like in the house of the hotel with 300 rooms. In your case, they're actually in-house in your house. So you want to deal with it while it's in-house. All right. So I hope to convince you so far that we say, yes, awesome, we got a complaint. If you call the home with your life partner or spouse, you can be like, honey, look, we got a complaint. How awesome. Is that the way you react right now? I don't think so, but hopefully after Doug Kennedy's short webcast today. So I encourage you to encourage them to complain. Better to hear them while you can fix them, if you don't mind the expression. So there are ways you can actually encourage complaints. So when you're communicating with people, and I'm going to discuss Airbnb. Now, I haven't actually used it as a guest since around first quarter of this year, but you communicate with the owner. Some of them text you. I don't know. Hopefully, they have a system. So when you have a smartphone calendar alert, or if you're on Outlook or Google, workspaces now, set an alarm, check on them like a couple of hours after they've arrived, just checking on you to see how things work, because that first hour in your accommodation is a very critical, momentous moment It is a momentous moment because if something is going to go wrong, it's probably during that time when people are tired, hungry. They put up with either flight delays, crowded planes, people who don't want to wear the mask over their nose. That's what happened yesterday. Flight attendants were really good at enforcing that when I was flying back yesterday, which I appreciated. Or you're dealing with traveling in well, I would say minivan, but that's what I drove when our kids were little. Now it's more like a SUV or crossover, you know, because just minivans are no longer cool. Younger parents got to have a crossover. But what they hear from the crossover, same things I heard from the back of our minivan, same things my parents heard when I was riding in the back of a wooden paneled station wagon with the third row seat. Are we there yet? I'm hungry. He's touching me. She's looking at me. He's on my side. He's breathing my air. So, and you know, mom and dad started out all excited about this vacation. By the time they get to the house, they're like, kids, how about some TV? You know, at home, they're like, oh, you watch too much TV. In the home, they're like, let's find Paw Patrol. And then they pick up the remote and the remote doesn't work. Well, maybe the batteries are dead, or maybe they picked up the wrong remote. It's for the cable box, not the TV, or it's for the ceiling fan. And they're getting all frustrated. If you don't deal with that, they're going to end up watching it on their Xfinity app on a little tiny screen, and they're going to write a review that said the daggone TV didn't work, right? Because you didn't know. So we want to fix them, all right? So a couple things. Message them when they first arrive. Well, pre-arrival. Put this, you know, welcoming complaints throughout. Once you've accepted the reservation or once they booked with you, please let us know if there's any issues. Check back with them through text or in-app messaging a couple hours after arrival. On top of it, oh, you may or may not like this one, put your picture, your name, and your phone number in the home. Now, a couple things there. You may not want to put your main cell phone number. You know, I've heard now there's apps you can buy for your smartphone where you can have a second number that rings to the same phone. So, you know, you can decide and you won't have to publish your own number that for privacy reasons. Or secondly, if you do this enough and you rent your home enough, maybe you have a couple homes, if you have to, get a second phone, get a track phone at Target. But you want to encourage them. Now people are saying, oh, I don't want to call in the middle of the night. I train rental companies to do this, and I encourage them to do that. Now, they generally have either an answering service or one employee who takes the after-hours calls. They forward to them after hours. Now, they're paid to do that, and they have 50, 100, couple hundred homes. They rarely get called in the middle of the night. Most people are not going to do that. Now, you may have that person that does, okay? Well, turn that second phone off or put hours. Call us anytime between 8 and 10, 8 a.m., 10 p.m. But I really encourage you to do this. Put it in a prominent way. Why a picture? A picture humanizes it. And when somebody is upset, it's easy to yell at some agent and some anonymous voice in a business, but or text you, and maybe you've had this happen. Maybe you're an owner that actually texts people back and says, please call me. And they're doing all caps and screaming. And yet when you call, they're like, oh, hello, Jane, so sorry to bother you. Yeah, it's just, you know, it was a long drive. We can't find the remote. It's not working. But in the meantime, if you leave this just to a text or an email exchange, they're screaming in all caps. You humanize it with the voice. You humanize it with a photo, okay? And I believe that is a really good thing. And then it personalizes it. And again, put hours up there, get a second phone line, but that is a great way to welcome complaints. Let's see what we got. Okay, comment there. I think you can all read that. Ridiculously personal experiences. I like that. That's a great way to put it. All right, so what causes complaints? Now, it's kind of interesting because I was actually asked to do this class for a client that I had trained so many times in traditional on-site training. I had trained the management of the Peabody Hotel Orlando, which is a very large conference hotel. Peabody Hotels had 4 hotels. It was owned by the Bells family, the Bells Outlet Mall people. Wonderful people, wonderful owners, had the same staff. I trained them so many times. The one in Orlando, yes, with the Peabody Ducks in the lobby. There is still one left. You can see the Peabody Ducks in the lobby of the Peabody Memphis, their original hotel. Then all then all the managers went from there to the Lowe's Universal Studios hotels. So the same executive team, many of them went there. Actually, one of them went to the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin, and the others went to Lowe's Universal. So they brought me in there. They ended up having a lot of their former employees come to work there. And I went through all my standard content. And finally, they said, the manager calls me up, Susan Gilmore. She says, I need to book you for next year's training. She said, but I need something on complaints. I'm like, okay, I think I could do something like that. She says, okay, send me the contract. I didn't even have a program. So I sat in my office over the weekend and I gave all the thoughts. You know, most of the complaint training centers around EAR, okay? So in the hotel business, Holiday Inn called it HEAT. Hear, empathize, apologize, resolve. I don't know, this has gone on. Where did I just see? Heart, hear, empathize, apologize, resolve, take action. We called at KTN, learn, listen, empathize, apologize, resolve, never try to prove the guest wrong. Marriott also used learn. So it was that EAR thing. So, and I had used empathize, apologize, resolve, and make sure they're satisfied. So I had used ears. So I needed something new for this group. So I sat here and one day it came to me, perfect, I got it, a carrot. And that's why at KTN, we have the carrot model. Okay, let me go back here to explain this. Did I have this? Sorry, I lost my place in my slide here. Okay, so the carrot model of guest complaints. Now, I want to first talk about what actually causes guest complaints before we get into that. First of all, we have shortcomings with the physical product. Now, that means the home, all right? If you think about it, now, I don't know who's here today, but some of you may have, you know, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo at the beach, or maybe a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo at the beach. However, a lot of you have really large homes. Where I was at TaylorMade Deep Creek, they have, their average home is 5 bedrooms, maybe 2,000 square feet. So you have large homes with a lot of in-house tech, with a lot of people staying there for a longer time than a hotel. A hotel is a 400 square foot box. It has a bed, a nightstand, a dresser, a lamp, a TV, a phone that nobody uses anymore. It has, you know, a bathroom, a hair dryer, an ironing board. Okay, most people by now have figured out how to get the internet. That was a big issue for a while. Most people have figured out don't put the key card next to your mobile phone, or the hotels have switched to the radio frequency cards. So there's not as much that can go wrong in the room. Your home has a lot of stuff in it, and a lot of people stay there. That 400 square foot hotel box has 2, maybe 4 guests. You have 4, maybe 10 guests. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Also, something with the process or procedure. They can't work the lockbox or the electronic door card, or they can't get on the Wi-Fi, okay, because they put in for the wrong network. They put in for the neighbors next door, or they can't transpose the key, the access code, the key code. What is it called? The key code is the default. But hint there, by the way, rename the access code something other than the default that came with the modem, and make it something simple. I mean, at worst, someone's going to steal internet. Okay, it's not jewelry, but make it something that is easy. Some people use a phone number or a street address. How about a nice word with a couple of numbers? Keep it simple. But anyways, now I'm getting off track again. I tend to do that. But something went wrong with a process or procedure. That can also be an issue for a complaint. But more than anything, I want you to think about what really causes complaints, and then how can we resolve it? All right, now we get into my carrot model. I think I spoke too soon. So I sat here in my office trying to come up with something besides learn, heat, ears, heart, something that didn't have EAR, and it hit me, carrot. The carrot is the perfect model. Now I'm sure Heather right now is saying, Doug is talking about carrots. What? Just kidding, she knew. Well, when I first presented this topic, she was probably kind of wondering, carrots? But she trusts me. Thank you, Heather. What does a carrot have to do? Now let me sing. Okay, we're going to address the home not meeting the expectation. Actually, I'm going to stop reading these because then I find myself looking at the screen instead of you. Heather, please tee up these questions for me. I promise to try my best to address them all. So a carrot mom, and keep the questions coming, by the way. Type it now while you're thinking about it, so we can get them teed up and organized. All right, so I thought the carrot was the perfect model for a guest complaint. Now, when you buy a carrot in the store, we see the orange part and they chop off the green part, unless you go to the farmer's market or perhaps Whole Foods. But I think it's really a good analogy here because the green leafy part of the plant represents what we see. Now I have the word see in parentheses because you don't actually see a guest complaining. Chances are good. So that would be what you see in an email or an in-app message or a text from an upset guest. That is what they present you with, is only the top of the carrot. The remote won't work. I can't get on the internet. I can't heat up my kids' chicken nuggets in the microwave, or their own tea if they're from Britain. So that's what you're presented with. And if we only fix that, the challenge is the orange part in the ground is the most important part, okay? And that is the much deeper issue, is the uniquely human need for validation, okay? So if we only treat the top of the carrot, then what happens is we chop that part off and we leave the carrot buried in the ground. Now, I actually grew up in a small urban city, Lexington, Kentucky. My parents were city kids from Pittsburgh, and they always wanted to be farmers. They actually had bought a farm and tried to make it in farming for 6 years. Didn't work out so well. They came back into the city world. But we had such a large yard that we actually had a garden, probably, I don't know, I would have to say probably about half the size of a football field. We grew carrots, and I know what happens if you don't harvest the potatoes or the carrots from the ground at the end of the season. They rot, they get insects, they smell really bad when you dig them up the next year. So what we need to do then is understand the root problem of the complaint really has very little to do with fixing it, because sometimes you can't fix it. And that may lead to the question that I did see a minute ago. It didn't meet their expectation, or it was the noisy neighbors next door, or it was the weather. Yeah. Or there was an ant on the balcony. How traumatic. The place is infested. It's an ant, on a singular ant, by the way. But whatever it is, what they really, really need is something we as humans desperately crave, which is validation. Validation means you validating their emotional distress over a little tiny thing. So I'm gonna go into that a little bit more, but I'm just presenting the concept first of validation. You notice I matched that with the carrot, and I just happen to wear orange today to have you think about that with the carrot model. So therefore, showing compassion for the complainer is as important as resolving the issue. Now, what people tend to do naturally, if you've ever been in a customer service job, someone's upset, and we say, "Oh, I'm so sorry this happened." Or if you've been trained in customer service, you know not to say, "I'm sorry." You say, "I apologize." Because if you say, "I'm so sorry," they're going to be like, "Yeah, you are sorry, and I'm sorry I rented your house, and you're going to be sorry when I do a bad review, and you're such a sorry person." So we say, "I apologize." But that doesn't always work so well either. What we have to do now is show compassion for the complainer, okay, through empathizing before we apologize, okay? So if you do that, then you will be dealing with the core issue, the root of the problem. So how do we provide validation, okay? We simply show empathy and understanding for them as a human being, okay? So if you do that, you're going to show empathy and understanding for their circumstances. You know, we human beings, we're emotional creatures living in a physical world. Inside of my 50-something-year-old body is a 5-year-old. And when it comes to being upset in a complaining situation, we become that 5-year-old. And if all you do is give the 5-year-old a popsicle, they'll stop crying, but they're still going to be hurt inside. So humans, when we grow up, and maybe if you raise your kids, you see this happening. We have early 20-somethings, and you see inside is still that 5 or 4-year-old in a much older body. So if we just deal with the emotional part, that's the root of the problem, okay? Dogs don't need it, cats don't need it, but oh my gosh, humans, do we ever need it? I think I just got another call on my mobile to sell me an extended warranty. Finally, the IRS guy quit calling. Or who's the other one? Yeah, the IRS and the other people that never call you. But I'm getting extended warranty calls. So empathy and understanding of their circumstance. All right. Now, specifically, take a picture of this slide or write it down. It's really simple, but this is your magic formula, ladies and gentlemen. I understand how you feel. Then you say, I apologize for the situation. Now, that is a really hard habit to get out of saying, because a lot of times we've been so trained into saying I'm sorry or I apologize. We did this class at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. We taught about 120 front desk people, and we went through this class. By the way, in Orlando, they have the Rosen School of Hospitality at University of Central Florida. Probably one of the top 5, certainly one of the top 10 hotel hospitality programs. And most of these young people there had gone to the Rosen School of Hospitality. So they had a good education. They probably had some work experience to get hired at the Swan and Dolphin. They sat there in a 2-hour version of this class. And the last thing we talked about is giving validation before you apologize. Then we do the role playing. And we role played the example of the key doesn't work and I walked a long way. And almost, I don't know, a third of them right out of their mouth, first thing they said, oh, I apologize for your inconvenience. They forgot the whole concept because they were so entrenched or ingrained in their mind to apologize first. But before you apologize and before resolving it, I want you to think about showing empathy. And I'm restating this many times because I want you to have this as your takeaway when you end your time with me together here in a few minutes. So remember, the guest is an emotional being, as are you, in a physical world. And that kind of brings up your issue too, because guess what? You think your home is beautiful and you love that carpet and you love the quaint decor that you picked and you love the artwork. And then they're like, this place doesn't look anything like the picture. And you took those pictures, right? Don't take it personally. There's a percentage of the traveling public, just like there's a percentage of people in general, that is going to always complain. They're negative sorters. What you may find is what we find in hotels and vacation rental. They'll complain the whole time. And then at the end, they'll say, oh, by the way, can I book you again for next year, same week? That's just the way some people are. So let's go ahead then and look at having conquering complaints. Next up, we want to talk about the different types of complainers that we have out there. Now, I want to knock out these ones first. The free stuff seekers. Okay. I don't know how much you get because I'm new to training and working with individual owners who rent their own properties. In the rental agency side, where they have 30 to 3,000 or more, a lot of people want to get their money back. Well, where did they ever get this idea from? From the hotel industry. Thank you, Hampton Inns. Hampton Inns was owned by a company called Promise Corporation before Hilton bought them. And Promise, as their name implied, gave a promise, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Anything went wrong, they would refund your whole money. But the truth is, what they actually found was that a very small percentage of people actually asked for their money back. Now, they did keep a database in Memphis, Tennessee, and at that time in the 90s, it was someone's job to monitor that on a fairly manual basis, probably in Lotus, if you go back that far, or Excel. And they kept a list, and if people did show up, a database, a list of the people who had asked for their money back, and if you started to do that in multiple locations, then they would reach out and invite you to stay next time with another hotel company. That was always a lot of people's fantasy job, to uninvite the guests. But the truth is, the vast majority of people do not fall into this. They are legitimately have issues, or they just overly emotionally distraught. So free stuff seekers, let's knock them out. If you get to the point that you think every guest who's staying in your home is only there to cause problems, to complain, to do a bad review, to try to get money back, do yourself a favor, sell that investment property and put your money somewhere else. Try collecting cars, antique cars, or something else, because you become cynical, and you start to think that all guests are like that. There is a bad apple here that can spoil the whole bunch, like the Michael Jackson told us years ago, but most of them are not scammers. If you start to have that negative expectation, you literally attract those types of guests. Believe me, it works. It works that way. Next up, as I touched on earlier, we have the negative sorters. These are the people that just complain wherever they go. Some people have a rather gloomy outlook. If you remember the Winnie the Pooh characters, there was Eeyore the donkey. Okay. He was always sad. He was just a gloomy person. Some people, you can put them in the most beautiful home and there's something they're going to not like about it. That's, you probably have one in your family that will be over at your house for Thanksgiving here in about 2 weeks. And now you're picturing someone's face. I know we have one in my family. But that's the way they are, okay? Now, some do get a little bit beyond this. There's a slice of these folks that are actually bullies. That's the ones you take your documentation. Don't be afraid to use law enforcement if necessary, okay? All right. Other types of complainers, though, the most common type is normal human beings. Regular people, just like her. This represents a mom, okay? She cannot wait to go on vacation. However, and she looked forward to it for weeks, if not months, especially now with COVID. She needs to get away. But when the time came, she had to work late the night before. She actually had to stay until 6, come home, cook dinner, start packing the kids, then finally start packing herself. Then before she went to bed, finish up that last part of the project or those emails. Okay. Then the next morning, alarm clock rings. Mom wakes up, cooks breakfast for everybody. Dad loads up the car. Everyone's all excited. But along the way, getting there, oh boy. As we said earlier, are we there yet? He's touching me. She's on my side. Or you get the flat tire. Okay. That seems to be like a given. If you're going to have a flat tire, it's while you're leaving for vacation. Or there's traffic. Or there's some other issue along the way. And a lot of stuff right now, particularly with COVID, that people are stretched, they're stressed, they're emotionally distraught, they're worried. There's a lot going on, okay? So what you have is this lady right here starting out as a smiley, happy lady. By the time she gets there, I don't know if you can see these images, she has screamed, she has yelled. Dad has threatened to pull the car over if they say one more comment. My dad said that all the time. I don't think he ever pulled the car over. A few times he did try to reach around and smack us. So I want to make sure that you train your team, which in this case is you, about the carrot model to treat the root cause of the problem. So let me go back through it again here before we take the questions. Remember the uniquely human need for validation. Okay, so I'm kind of recapping and summarizing here, and then Heather, get our questions ready. Whereas all service providers, remember to apologize, okay? What I want you all to do is remember the most important component, which is to deal with the root cause of the problem, okay? So therefore, before apologizing, and certainly before trying to explore resolutions, simply show empathy, and when you provide empathy, they receive validation, okay? So if you validate their emotional response, listening, providing a statement of empathy. Now, if you actually talk to them, because you did have a phone conversation, sometimes you have to let them go on and on. They all have a story. It cannot just be there's an ant on the balcony or there's a bee in the house. It can't just be there's a bee in the house. There's a bee in the house and my kid is allergic to stings. Well, I think he is. He got stung 15 years ago and it swelled up into a bump. And you don't know how traumatic this is. Or it can't just be like, I couldn't work the TV. It's got to be like, we got there late, there was traffic, everything was terrible. We wanted to have a get together so we could watch, let's see, football. We could watch the Kansas City game or the Steelers game because they're 7-0, right? And then the TV didn't work. You can't just say, oh, the battery's probably dead. There's some extra ones in the drawer. You got to let them talk about, oh, you don't know how bad it is. And then you give your empathy statement before you apologize, and then you resolve it. Okay. So I understand how you might feel, and kind of restate it back. Wow, I can understand how you might feel. And I know as a sports fan myself, I would be really upset if I got there and I couldn't figure out the TV. And I apologize for the situation. However, if you do look on the back of the remote, we did label them. You are using the fan, remote control for the fan. The other one says TV. Just kidding. But you may want to feel like talking to them that way. But instead, you're going to validate their emotions. All right. When you do that, what's going to happen next? Right here. Guests often say, if you give them show empathy and they receive validation, then they're going to be defused, the angry guests, and they're going to say, well, I know it's not really your fault, and you are being very nice. I know you didn't make it rain all week. Okay. Yeah, we are so upset the TV won't work, and it's been raining all week, and we came here to the beach to go out to the sunshine, and now it's raining, or we came here to ski, and now there's no snow, and it's raining, and we can't watch TV to watch the playoffs. I understand how you feel. Well, I know it's not your fault, and you're actually being very nice. Okay. Now, reviews. You can use this very same concept when you respond to those negative guest reviews. A message of heartfelt empathy will also show good intent. So this is kind of what somebody had chatted, the very first question we got, Heather. Okay, so before you respond to the actual issue, you may want to take a screen capture of this, or take a camera phone pic. I'll stand out of the way as I read it. First, I want to let you know that I can just imagine how stressful this was for you to have that happen, and be more specific there, as I've just discussed. I can imagine what it might feel like to be this. I'm sorry. I can imagine that I might feel the same way if it was my family vacation. So first, I want to let you know I can just imagine how stressful this is for you to have this happen. I can imagine that I might even feel the same way if it was my vacation. Please accept my humble apologies. I truly regret this happened. Now, here's where you stick up for yourself. My only wish is that if we would have known this occurred with time left to fix it while you were still here, but thank you anyway for the opportunity to learn from the experience. The truth is, if your homes don't have any bad reviews, people will think it's fake or it's new. There's always some bad reviews. It's how you respond to them. And you should respond to them all, including the good ones. And don't just say the same thing. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your feedback. That's where you go to thesaurus.com and you switch it up. You flip the words, make it look a little differently, because people will read more than one review. And if they see an owner in there responding to the reviews, then they're going to know it's a good value. Now, also, you can kind of stick up for yourself, as I said there. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I can imagine how stressful it must have been, particularly given the situation. And I think I might have felt the same way too. However, when we spoke on the phone and I offered to bring you some new remote control batteries, I know the time wasn't good for you to have me have those brought to you. So you can kind of stick up for yourself and talk about your attempts to resolve. All right, so conquering complaints, Doug at Kennedy Training Network. You can go back through Astro to book my one-on-one webcam coaching. We can talk about anything related to sales, guest service, a little bit on selling, not so much distribution, which is more, well, a lot of other people, experts that you have, but anything in the guest service, the sales, the hospitality space. All right, thank you, everyone. Heather, did you want to tee up the questions, or how do you want to proceed?
Yeah, and I actually, with the 10 minutes, and we had some good questions, I'm just going to stay without going back to the deck and just kind of have this as dialogue with you. So the one that, I guess just to recap a little bit too, the core, I think, of what you were saying is, empathy and understanding are just so key.
Mhm.
And that's kind of translating, right? Showing the emotional intelligence. And that
Yeah,
last slide you had was really great of how, I apologize, and then
yeah,
imagining how they would feel. The other thing that really resonated is, and I think we get caught in this, is how picking up the phone actually can make this breakthrough versus
yeah,
texting. Because to get to the root, the carrot, right?
yeah,
It's almost impossible to do sometimes with texting or email.
yeah.
I don't know if you'd mind expanding on that. Like what do I do? I'm not resolving it. I'm not, feeling like I'm breaking through or getting to the root.
Yeah.
How often should you pick up the phone, or are there signs to?
I think it's a go-to. Some people like to hide behind the texting, and some of you on the webcam today may prefer texting, and we think that the guest prefers texting. I was just thinking, I know with now we don't have a landline, but I know, for example, our son. We just, of course, he's a college student. I pay for his cable TV, and the cable companies will give you pretty much like a free landline with the packages. Why not put a phone there? Then you don't even have to ask them for their phone number. Just call them at the house. Just say, I'm going to call you in the house now, and call your own landline. And then you don't have to worry about
Yeah, that's
having your phone number. But I think I call it, humanizing the situation. And I know you have the Helltail background. You've probably done an MOD shift. And when the person comes to get you, Heather, they're so mad, they're screaming. You go out there and the person's like, oh, hello, and then you always bring them to the office to sit them down and talk to them. It's hard to yell at a person than some owner of some house.
Yeah, it really is interesting. I've heard the term like people whisperer. The idea that some people maybe are naturally better at this than other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
But as an entrepreneur, short-term rental homeowner, whether or not you're naturally good at this,
yeah,
it's such a key part of running a successful short-term rental, because to your point, no matter how on point everything is about everything you've done, you are still going to get complaints.
yeah,
So then it's your ability to address them, can make or break you. And
yeah.
maybe we can dive into this one. I think that is this kind of leads to, you have done everything right. Your images, your amenities, everything is accurately presenting the property, but the complaint is claiming this wasn't what I expected. Maybe it's
Okay.
right. I don't know what that is exactly. A mattress. Maybe the mattress, it's a brand new mattress, but yet they're still complaining about it just simply because of their own personal preference. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you have an example of that, right? Where it
Yeah,
feels
I'm
like,
typing something to chat over here while you're going through that. So, yeah,
just the idea that um, the complaint feels just inaccurate. It wasn't even that something went wrong, or that they're not catching you with an inaccurate listing, and so it's just a complaint, a preference, an observation that they don't like, and again, like obviously showing the empathy and the understanding, but then the defending yourself part is maybe the other piece of that, right? That
yeah,
you're navigating how to do that um, in the most graceful way.
yeah. Well, I'm typing this up because I know people may want to get it, and I don't have a slide on it. Okay, so, and there's some typos in what I just sent, but let me go ahead and send it. And actually, Grammarly wants to fix it. Don't you love Grammarly? Grammarly is the best thing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, I use that too.
all right, let me see if I can send it. All right. So the
Yeah.
house, I was wanting to definitely get to this. The house doesn't meet the expectations. You have 20 pictures. Okay.
Mhm.
Now we'll come back to the lumpy bed, or the mattress that's too hard or soft. Some people like a firm mattress, some like a soft mattress. That's why when you go to the mattress store, you get to lay on the beds. But anyways, first thing, empathize and apologize. I understand how you feel, and I can imagine how it would be if I were to rent a home and it didn't meet my expectations. And I apologize that ours hasn't met yours. And then you say, we do our best to accurately depict our home in the many images from all views and rooms, and also in our description. We understand personal tastes. Understand personal tastes may vary.
Mhm.
So again, my apologize that we did not meet your expectation. Now, other people are going to read that. They're going to be like, yeah, duh, dude, the pictures, you know, but I'm talking about the next potential guest who reads that, going to be like, all right, yeah. They're going to,
Right.
because guess what? Their company gets
Right.
reviews too. Everybody gets reviews. My
Agreed.
dentist wants me to do reviews. Anywhere
Yeah.
you go, we do review. We get review fatigue, but
Yeah.
every company is and we all shop online, you know, so it's how you respond and to each one. But if you show that empathy first to give them validation, you know, what you really want to say is, dude, there's 20 pictures that clearly show it's not beachfront, it's beach view, right? And they're put on there, well, I thought we'd be right on directly over the ocean, but we had to walk over. We had to walk over the sand dunes. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have the community flatten all the sand dunes, so you know we take out the natural protection from the next hurricane. That's really what you want to say.
I love, Doug, that you can let it out too, to know the voice in our head, but how it really needs to come out
that's
on
what you want
paper.
to say, but instead you say, oh, I understand how you feel, and I can imagine what it would be like having to carry, you know, the babies. They're going to tell you that we had the beach bassinet. I forget now. I can't even. My kids are older now, but I'm actually thinking back to when I stayed at a hotel and actually vacation rental, Seaside, Florida, where we had to go up over the sand dune with all the stuff. It was hard, and I remember we got everything set up, and my daughter down in the sand. I forget what, something made her start crying. She had snot running down her nose, and then she proceeded to put her face into the sand. And she was covered with sand, so I had to go all the way back up over the steps, down on the beach dune to the house, and you know, wash her out in the sink, literally. But it's hard, you know. But there's a picture that there's a sand dune because it's natural.
Right. And
in Seaside, Florida, because that's why people come here. So, but
yeah,
you know,
and that is kind of leading to one of the other questions we had. Yeah, sorry, that was leading to kind of one of the other questions. And I think to your point, it's the same framework, right? Empathy, understanding. But another tough one is I'm complaining about something that wasn't your house. I'm complaining about noise from the house next door, right? And that's a tough one too, because it is out of the control. And you know, do you try to give a little bit of a discount? Do you try to acknowledge that, I don't know, you know, at what points do you say, I'm going to give you a little something?
There is a time for discounting. I'm not sure that's so important for individual homeowners as it might be for a brand, a vacation rental brand, so a large vacation rental company. There's sometimes where, you know what, they're going to make so much noise, or you just don't need it. You don't want to just give them the daggone money. However, you know, you're not so much a brand because you're individuals. So I don't think I would be so quick to refund. Now, if, you know, the water heater broke and you really knew the water heater needed to be replaced. I just went through this at my house. There was only a little rust. And then I realized that my floorboard was warping. You know, you may want to give some legit concessions, but once again, I would say, I understand how you feel. And I would certainly be upset if I were on vacation and the house next door had noise. And I sincerely apologize for that. We have spoken with those neighbors before. And again, however I said it in the previous slide, my biggest regret is that, you know, if you would have let us know, we would have encouraged you, or we would have called law enforcement for you, because after 10 o'clock, there's a noise ordinance. So I hope you come back. Should you come back next year during this time, if there's ever an issue, let us know and we'll call the police for you, something like that. But, you know, it's the same thing. You know this. You worked in hotels. You work in this business. You apologize for the weather. You apologize at a ski resort because it didn't snow. You apologize at a beach resort because the sun didn't come out. Or here's one that you're in.
But I do think that is
a mosquito. Sorry.
Well, and you're right. I mean, you go to like how ridiculous guests can be, and it is just the nature of the business, right? So you have to expect that it's just going to be part of the business. And so then how do you deal with it gracefully? How do you, show up well so that it doesn't impact your review scores, because that impacts your page placement, right? And taking this guest recovery, managing reviews really seriously. And even when you're in the right, just how important the skill is to show this emotional intelligence and manage it in a professional way. Yeah.
It's self-serving too, Heather, because when you say, I understand how you feel, I apologize, I can imagine how it would be, and I apologize. Then they're gonna say, well, I know it's not your fault that it didn't snow or that the mosquito, it is a rainforest. They're gonna let you off the hook. But remember, it's a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old body, a 4-year-old and a 40-year-old body. If you're a parent, you can relate. If not, you've been around kids or you were a kid. We're emotional creatures. Deal with it emotionally.
No, I think of this ties back to there's a framework and a methodology, and no matter what it is, by applying it, you're going to do the best you can. The other important takeaway, I think, is how the phone and actually being able to talk can even elevate your ability to resolve. And it's maybe harder, right? And people would prefer to not have to do it, but how much of a difference that can make.
Let me throw in another one real quick. Vidyard, let me type it in.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I typed it wrong.
Oh.
Vidyard. Free video email app. Go to vidyard.com, sign up for an account. Now you can record from your phone or from your laptop. You can record a message. Hello, Heather, it's Doug. I'm the owner that you've been emailing, and I just wanted to let you know I really apologize for that mosquito, and also that it would be so traumatic. The ant was on the balcony, and I just really apologize. Click send. And now you send a video. I know you would never complain about one ant on the balcony, but I do.
But that's an interesting middle ground, that idea too, right? It's like,
you
okay.
You can take the link and put it in a text. It records it when they play it. It takes them back online to play it, and you can actually copy that and then text it to someone. Put a face with it.
Yeah.
We call that using tech for touch.
Yeah, tech for touch.
Don't just text them.
Well, I know we're at time here. I think I'm just looking at the questions. I think we got to all of them in kind of in different ways. So.
Any others we missed? I'm all ears. If there's any left. Looks like
maybe if we spend one more minute, cancel policy. So when someone is canceling, this is not about the stay, right? This is just handling I know I'm within policy and I should lose all my money, but would you be so kind as to waive this? And, flexible cancel policy with COVID is such a hot topic. So that maybe all the same framework applies, right? Maybe you make sure you get on the phone, can you resolve it in a different way and do a credit to a future stay?
That's going to depend on your financial situation. And if, some of you maybe you lost your job, maybe your hours are cut back, maybe you need to make your mortgage payment. Again, empathize, apologize. I understand how you feel. I apologize, but unfortunately, because there's a limited amount of unfortunately, since we can't re-rent the home, and this is now lost revenue. We cannot afford it because we do have a mortgage to pay as well. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
be sure to empathize and apologize. Now, if you can afford it, next thing is, okay, you can use it for another date. And if they don't have another date, and if you can afford it, and if you're doing well and you can afford it, and you have a legit issue from somebody who did lose their job and cannot afford it, it would be a really nice thing to get the money back.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of, you're going to trip insurance, and did they have it, did they not? Is the reason covered, right? But ultimately, what I am taking away from this too is that handling it, there's ways you can handle it better if you follow these steps, and it applies to that situation too.
Yeah, exactly. And there's probably plenty of these people, they knew it, they took a risk on insurance. I never buy insurance. My father told me, how do you think the insurance companies make so much money? They're gamblers. They know the odds. Yeah. However, sometimes I get burned. And when you get burned, I had that happen once. I did a prepaid Expedia booking, which I never do, but I was going to be speaking at a conference and I knew it was going to happen. and then the flight got canceled. So I had to take a morning flight out the next day. But what did I do? I called the front desk and I was like, oh, hello, how are you? It's fog, it's weather. I know it's past the cancellation. They're like, oh, yeah, I know, I understand. It's non-refundable. You're going to try,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
even though I could easily afford that, but I guess the cheap part of me wanted to try.
I mean, the policies are there for a reason, right? And the guest knows the risk. And so
Don't
as
feel
long as
too
you're
bad.
upfront and clear about it, you're covered.
Don't feel too bad if you got a mortgage to pay. But
Yeah.
if you can't afford it and it seems legit, it's just like last night coming back from the airport, I had my Uber driver, I see them approaching on the app. They're in the wrong spot. And then they tried to call me, and then I don't know, everything got disconnected. They canceled and I got billed for a no-show. And part of me was like, I want my $5. And then I thought, you know what? Somebody probably really needs that money. And it's probably somebody that's not usually an Uber driver. And thank God that they do have Uber drivers, because I got another one. And, you know, I'm like, they can have the $5.
Yeah. It's tough. You're weighing every situation uniquely. Every situation is unique.
Yeah. When you need the money for your mortgage payment, that's a problem. Now, if you can re-rent it, then that's good. But, you know.
Sure.
Anyway.
Well, this has been great, Doug. Thanks for even staying on a little bit over. And for everyone on the line, this is recorded to go back. So if you missed doing screenshots, you're able to see that later. We'll have it on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. So
I'm all behind you, Heather. This is great that you're doing for the industry. It's a wonderful resource. I wish all the investor homeowners well, and I look forward to working with you guys again.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks again for your time, Doug. Right. There's how to contact Doug. That's great. All right. Have a good one, and we'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Okay, bye-bye.